everybody, thank you for watching. In this video we're going to investigate how problem-based learning can function while using the station rotation model of blended learning. We're also going to take a look at an actual example lesson that uses problem-based learning. Now before we take a look at any problem-based learning examples, let's just do a quick recap of the station rotation model to remind you what it is and how it works. In this model, within a classroom or within an area of the school, students rotate between stations. At some stations, they might be learning using online activities. Other stations, the teacher is leading instruction. And at other stations, still, the students participate in really any other kind of collaborative activity or group work. You also have to remember with this that these stations are not static. The students can move between the stations as they see fit based on their needs. So now let's actually take a look at problem-based learning and start to understand what it actually is. Problem-based learning, it's a very student-centered pedagogy in which students learn about a subject through experience of solving an open-ended problem. So rather than just present students with a whole bunch of content and you just tell them this is what they have to know, you start off with a problem that they have to solve instead. And in solving the problem, they have to learn certain content to do so. Students also learn in this very critical thinking strategies and domain knowledge.
So let's take a look at a traditional learning method and compare it to the problem-based method. In the traditional learning method, students are told what they need to know, they're asked to memorize it, and then they are given an assessment or a problem assigned to them to illustrate that they know how to use it. In problem-based learning, they're given a problem, they identify what they need to know, and then they go research it and learn the different pieces of information that they need to come up with a solution to solve the problem. Alright, so let's take a look at how to create a PBL. We're going to look at a couple steps. We'll go through each one of them. The first one is to present the problem statement. This needs to be something that's going to get the student's attention. I like to call this my big sexy hook. It could be a video, it could be a picture, it could be a piece of music. The choices here are endless. The next step is to list what the students already know. So usually we'll just put this up on the whiteboard. They'll come up with a list of statements or pieces of information which they already know about the topic. The third step is to develop a problem statement. And this is what they need to know or what they need to explore. Once we decide these things, we can move on and list what is needed. So we need to identify research areas that needs to be investigated to make a compelling argument. The fifth step is to list actions, solutions, or hypotheses. Based on the research that they came up with and they have done, they have to identify and describe solutions that will solve or attempt to solve the initial problem. Lastly, they need to present and support their solution. So develop a way to present what they have already found. It could be a poster, it could be a video, it could be something on the Google platform, such as a slide presentation. All these things are needed in order to create an effective PBL. I'm going to quickly go over an example of a PBL. This one is based on climate change, and our first step was to present the topic statement or the problem statement. In this case, ours is, do scientists have enough information or data to support or refute climate change? So after I gave them a problem statement, I added a introduction as well as my big sexy hook, which is going to be a New York Times interactive video, which we'll take a look at. It's called Greenland is Melting Away, and it allows students to visualize what's actually going on, and from that they can kind of figure out what they already know. If they scroll down, they could read a little bit more about it, and they can look at the interactive map, which allows them to get a closer view and give them a little bit more details. So it's a very neat interactive video that the students tend to like, and it's going to get them interested in what we're doing. At this point, we would ask students, what do they know? Now this could be based off the video that they just watched and maybe some prior knowledge that they might have had. What I usually do is give them markers, have them come up to the whiteboard, make a list, and then we go over it. Usually just a small group discussion, or class discussion. Next, we would come up with things that we need to know in order to be able to answer or address the question to come up with a solution. So the question was, do scientists have enough data to support or refute climate change? Sometimes if you give them objectives, that might help guide them as far as what they need to accomplish in this assignment. So we just completed step 3, which is figure out what we need to know. Step 4 is just to list what is needed to be able to make a solution. A lot of times, especially when you first start with these PBLs, students aren't able to come up with these areas on their own. So often I like to list some objectives to kind of help them focus. And here's a list. Some of them are describe the causes of climate change, explain human contribution to climate change, and identify solutions, preventions, mitigation of climate change. Once the students investigate what they need to know and they use the objectives to help further the research, they need to start coming up with a plan of action to help mitigate climate change by engaging in argument using evidence. So they're using their research to come up with a solution to whether or not scientists have enough data to support or refute climate change. And then they're going to go even further by coming up with ways that we, the human race, can help mitigate climate change. Lastly, what they're going to do is they're going to present and support a solution. So once they have all this research and they develop their plan, they're going to present it, and you can really have them choose, or you can choose how they're going to do it, whether it is a presentation, poster, video, magazine, newspaper article, whatever you want to do there. There's a lot of creativity involved in that. When I first started using PBLs in the classroom, students came to me with a lot of questions, and a lot of times I felt like I was just spitting out the answers to them. So sometimes it's good to give them questions back that might be able to redirect their focus a little bit to help them get back on the right track. So I included a couple guided questions that I would often give students to help them get on task, such as define and describe climate change. What are the aspects? What evidence of climate change has been reported? These are just simple rewordings of what was already put in the prior information in the objectives. It's just in question form, and sometimes this directness helps students out a lot. Other things that you can also include is a rubric. Rubrics are very good to help students make sure that they have everything that they need and keep them focused. And lastly, we have a resource section. So if they want to do more, if they get done early, or if they want to investigate, or if there's just a selection of resources that I want to keep them focused on, I will put them in the resource section. Here's a neat article on how a Geritol solution helps carbon transformations in the ocean. NOAA is a good climate data resource where they can go to the Arctic Circle and figure out the climate average over the years. And then I also included a documentary, Chasing Ice, which is found on YouTube. So these are also good ways to expand the lesson a little bit, or if everyone's not at the same point, they can go do some of these extensions to the lesson. Thanks for watching this tutorial on PBLs and blended learning. Hopefully this gave you a little bit of an understanding on what a PBL is. So why don't you go out there and go ahead and give one of these a try and go blend something.